Imagine this scenario. You're flying in an airplane. The weather is perfect, visibility is excellent, and you're an experienced pilot who's flown this route dozens of times. And suddenly, your compass starts giving you the wrong reading. You look out the window and don't recognize the ocean below you. Everything looks different. Not the way it's supposed to look.
That's exactly what one of the pilots said over the radio a few minutes before he fell silent forever. Almost everyone has heard of the Bermuda Triangle at least once. Ships, planes, legends. But there's one story within this legend that almost no one talks about in detail. A story in which not just one vessel disappeared, but 6 aircraft and 27 people. All in a single night. And 80 years later, no one has ever found a single piece of wreckage. This is the story of Flight 19. December 5th, 1945. Fort Lauderdale Naval Air Station, Florida. The war had ended just a few months earlier, and life at the air station had returned to its usual routine. Training flights every day. On this day, a group of 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers took to the skies. 14 men are on board, and these are no rookies. Most of them are experienced pilots. Some have flown actual combat missions during World War II. Leading the group is Lieutenant Charles Taylor, an instructor with an impressive number of flight hours under his belt. The mission is simple, even boring. Fly a triangular route over the Atlantic, conduct a training bombing run on a sunken target ship, and then return home. The group had practiced this route countless times. The weather is nearly perfect. Light cloud cover, nothing out of the ordinary. None of the 14 men who took to the skies that day suspected that not a single one of them would return home. The first hour and a half of the flight proceeds as normal. The crews report on a training bombing run. Everything is going according to plan. And then something strange happens. The air traffic controller at the base overhears a conversation between the pilots in the flight formation over the radio. And the conversation doesn't sound at all the way it should. One of the wingmen contacts Lieutenant Taylor and says that his compass is showing strange readings. Taylor replies that he's having the same problem. Both of his compasses seem to have failed. Worse yet, Taylor admits that he's not sure exactly where they are. Next comes an even stranger detail that still has people debating to this day. According to the recording, one of the crew members remarks that the ocean below looks unusual, as if they've ended up somewhere they're not supposed to be, where everything is a little different. The pilots are clearly confused and clearly experienced, which makes their bewilderment even more inexplicable. The air traffic controller at the base tries to help correct their course, provide a bearing, and guide the group back towards shore. But the radio connection is getting worse and worse. Transmissions cut out, and only fragments can be heard. The voices over the radio are growing increasingly tense. Judging by the conversation, one of the young pilots is clearly starting to panic and suggests that Taylor simply turn west, toward where land is supposed to be. But Taylor, an experienced instructor, seems convinced that they are somewhere else entirely and leads the group in a different direction. After that, communication becomes completely sporadic. Only short, distorted phrases can be heard. And then, silence. The base sounds the alarm. 5 planes are not responding. They should have run out of fuel long ago. A Martin Mariner rescue seaplane, a large flying boat with a crew of 13, specifically designed for search and rescue operations over water, is dispatched. The aircraft takes off and makes contact with the base once, reporting that the search has begun. And that is the last anyone will hear from it. The crew of a merchant ship that was nearby on the open sea at the same time would later report seeing a bright flash in the sky and something resembling an explosion in the air at roughly the same time and in the same area. The official account would attribute this to a well-known technical characteristic of the Martin Mariner. The accumulation of fuel vapors in the compartment could sometimes lead to a fire caused by an accidental spark. But there would be no way to confirm this, because nothing would remain of the plane, just as nothing had remained of the 5 bombers before it. What happens next becomes one of the largest search and rescue operations in U.S. history at that time. Hundreds of planes and dozens of ships were deployed to the skies and the water. They combed through thousands of square kilometers of ocean, along the presumed route, along the coastline, and in every direction where the group could theoretically have been carried by currents or winds. The search continued for several days. The result? Nothing. Not a single piece of fuselage debris. Not a single oil slick on the water's surface. Not a single life jacket. Not a single body. 6 aircraft and 27 people simply ceased to exist, as if they had never been there at all. The Navy's official investigation ultimately concluded that the cause was a navigational error by Lieutenant Taylor. He allegedly confused the flight area with another similar archipelago and led the group out into the open ocean instead of returning to shore. And on the way back, they were caught in a storm that had intensified by evening with high waves, which led to the crash into the water. It sounds logical, but there are inconsistencies that have kept the debate alive for 80 years. First, after the report was published, Taylor's mother and relatives secured an official revision of the stated cause. The Navy ultimately changed its conclusion to a more vague one. The cause remains undetermined. Second, the area where, according to the transcript of radio communications, the crews lost their compass bearings is indeed considered one of the zones with unusual magnetic anomalies in the Atlantic. One of the few places in the world where magnetic north and true north coincide, which theoretically could have thrown off the instruments, but should not have thrown off such experienced pilots to such a great extent. And third, the most uncomfortable question for skeptics. Even if the bombers did crash into a storm, their wreckage should have remained at a relatively shallow depth off the coast, in an area that has since been crisscrossed by thousands of ships, divers, and researchers every year. Over the past 80 years, wreckage from other much older aircraft from the same era has been found in this area, but not a single fragment of these 6 specific planes, never. So, what really happened on that December evening in 1945? Was it a group of experienced pilots who panicked because of malfunctioning compasses and a storm, a tragic but understandable turn of events? Or is there something in that part of the ocean that truly doesn't work as it should? There is no definitive answer, and perhaps there never will be. But the fact remains, 6 planes and 27 people vanished in one of the busiest parts of the ocean in the world, and 80 years later, we still haven't found a single piece of wreckage. Coincidence? You decide. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe. There are many more mysteries ahead that few people talk about.